You're listening to Psych with Mike. For more episodes or to connect with the show with comments, ideas, or to be a guest, go to www.psychwithmike.com. Follow the show on Twitter @PsychWithMike or like the Facebook page @PsychWithMike. Now, here's Psych with Mike.
I've always been a good catch.
Welcome into the Psych with Mike library. This is Dr. Michael Mahan, and I am here, as always, with my friend and colleague, Mr. Brett Newcomb.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great. So I think that I struggle with the perception that I don't always feel worthy.
I'm glad you said it that way. I was afraid you were going to say I don't feel perfect.
Yeah.
And I was going to say there's no reason why you should.
Right. When I was thinking about it and I was putting the sense together in my head, I was thinking, I don't always feel perfect. And then I'm like, you know what? No, that's not actually even true, because I don't think I'm ever perfect. I always think that I miss the mark. I've never thought that the only thing that I really ever feel like I did well was being a parent, and I can name 1,000 different times when I fell short of the aspirational mark. Yeah, doing that. So it isn't that I don't feel perfect, it's that I don't feel worthy.
Like that. I fell short of the aspirational mark. That's impressive.
I'm a wordsmith. I learned that from you.
Oh, well, maybe that's why I like it.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
The imitation.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. But, I think we both have stated this, that we grew up actually reading the dictionary. Mm-hmm. I mean, both of us did that. And separately, because you were living in Arkansas, I was living in Missouri.
We had dictionaries in Arkansas.
I know.
Yeah.
They just weren't new.
That's right. Yeah. Language is old.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to me, like, that everybody in the world didn't do that. Like, when I met my wife and she would say to me, "What are you doing?" And I'd say, "Reading the dictionary." She'd be like, "What?"
I can remember my father called me a pusillanimous nincompoop.
Yeah.
I had to go look it up. I didn't know what he...
Well, I'm surprised he knew.
He heard it somewhere.
Right, exactly. He didn't know what the words meant. He just thought it sounded good together.
To use them, yeah.
Right. So, but I did learn that from you. But so when I was thinking about that sentence in my head, because we wanted to talk about people being perfect and what that means and why people feel driven to do that or live their lives that way. And then when I was thinking about it myself, I was thinking, it isn't that I've ever striven to be perfect, because I don't think that I've ever felt like I could ever achieve that, because the truth is that in the end, I just never feel worthy.
Well, but I think that as a child, you were taught conditional acceptability. You are acceptable, you are lovable, you are allowable if you meet certain conditions. Mm-hmm. And if you don't, we're going to get rid of you. Yeah. We're going to punish you, we're going to hurt you, we're going to bend you to our will until you become acceptable to us. And so the messages that you consistently get as you develop your sense of ego, myself growing into my own identity, is that you are not worthy and you are not acceptable unless you please me. Yeah. So then you learn the most important thing in life is to please those in authority over you, those that have the power to make you safe.
You want to go on a tangent for a minute?
Sure.
Okay. So you have said that statement many times, the ego growing into your own identity. Yeah. And I've really come to restructure my conceptualization of the ego listening to that, because I've always thought the ego was the ego I. That's all there was. Okay. And when you've started talking that way, when I've listened to you talk that way over the course of doing this podcast, I've actually reevaluated that idea. I've always conceptually thought that the identity was, and it still is in the ego, but I've always thought that was the ego. And now I see that there are actually there's more to the ego than just that.
Wow.
Yeah.
If only you'd had a dictionary.
Yeah, well.
When you were a child.
If only I had a good teacher when I was in grad school.
Oh, that hurt.
But anyway,
that poked my ego eye.
So that's just tangential, and for people who aren't geeky into psychology, that means nothing. But so that's been actually really beneficial for me.
Yeah, well, for me, it comes from the discussions about the sense of self and the ownership of my sense of self, my I-ness. I am, I exist, I have value, I have power, I can do these things. As opposed to my sense of self as perceived by others. You're a smart ass. My dad used to say all the time, "You're going to let your mouth overload your rear end, boy. You'll rue the day." That was another phrase he used all the time.
Did he know what that meant?
He did indeed. Rue? He did. Well, he was a cook. So yeah.
Oh, I get it. Yeah. So he knew one meaning.
He knew one of the multiple meanings of rue.
Yeah.
Where was I going with that?
We were talking about the difference between feeling worthy and being driven to be perfect.
Well, the conditional acceptability. You have to earn acceptance. And what we do in psychology is we try to teach people to give themselves self-acceptance, to be at peace with themselves. If I can be honest with me and I can say, this is who I am. These are my strengths. These are my weaknesses. Can I make peace with that, or do I need to change something? Is there something about me that I don't like? For instance, my weight. If I say, I really think I'm too fat to be attractive or acceptable to others, which in our fat-shaming society, it's very possible to be an individual that suffers from that.
Right.
If I have one of those clients sitting in the room saying that to me, then I have to try to find a way to get them to consider that they're more than just how they look, that they're more than just their size, and that they have value that they can embrace and say, you know what, I like me.
Yeah.
Or I like these parts of me. These parts of me I don't necessarily appreciate. Then we can say, are there things that you can do about that? Do you have any power over that? Could you choose to be different? Not because you're ashamed, not because you're unacceptable, but because you find that to be a piece of you that you want to modify.
Right.
So if what we do then is we give them the sense of power. I have the authority to choose who I'm going to be and how I'm going to perceive myself. Then I can present that to others and see if they appreciate it or not. But and then therein lies the challenge. Can I take the show on the road? I can sit in an isolated room with a therapist,
right,
and I'm going to say, well, you have to like me because I'm paying you. Of course, I heard that many times, and I would say, but I don't like you.
Right.
The way you are,
yeah,
it's not attractive to me. I wouldn't be your friend outside of here. The question is, do you like you? Can you get to a place where you like you? Can I help you get to a place where you like you?
What I would tell clients and still do tell clients all the time, is that I guarantee you I will never lie to you. So if I give you a compliment...
I wouldn't say that. I might.
See, but I won't. What is true is that if I say, wow, I think that you look very thin today, and you say, oh, I gained 5 pounds.
Right.
What I'm going to tell you is I will never lie to you.
But you wouldn't say that, Mike. You'd say you look attractive.
Hang on. But what I would, if I didn't think what I said,
right,
I wouldn't say that. I would give you a compliment, but it would be something else.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I won't ever lie to you.
And it would be a genuine, honest compliment.
So whatever I tell you is what I genuinely think, even if you disagree with it.
Okay. Well, we're saying the same thing. We're just using different words.
Yeah. So,
because we both get hung up on semantics.
We certainly do. I certainly do.
Yeah.
I'm willing to own that.
Yeah.
But
I'm willing to help you.
So while you help me own it, yes. So when I was coming up with the idea for this show, and I was doing the research, I found myself thinking about this idea of perfectionism, and people are always saying, I have to be so perfectionistic, or as therapists we say, why do you have to be such a perfectionist? And what I realized is that we use that term as a euphemism. That we really don't believe that we should be perfect. And as therapists, we're really not saying you don't need to be so perfect. What we're really talking about is a sense of unworthiness. Nobody feels like that they're perfect. There is no such thing. And we use it as a euphemism for talking about how unworthy we feel, because that's scarier to talk about.
my Catholic friends went to Mass growing up, reciting on a weekly basis or a daily basis if they went to daily Mass, I am not worthy that you should come under my roof, speak but the word, and my soul will be healed. They believe that. They're taught that. And they're taught that multidimensionally.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
meaning at
when
home,
you were talking about
at church,
the conditional way that love is handed out in the family of origin, that's the same message. It's different language, but the same message.
Exactly.
But do you agree with that? That when we use the idea of perfectionism in therapy, either as a client or as a therapist, that really it's just a euphemism for unworthy.
Yes.
And I'm realizing that I'm going to stop using that term in therapy.
Good. I think you should.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's that big a deal.
Let me give you my approval.
But I really come to recognize that when doing prep for this show, that there's this idea of perfectionism in the world, and it's all just a big fib.
Well, so if I have a sense of inadequacy, I want your love. And I say to myself, I'm not worthy to be loved by this person. Then I test whether or not I'm worthy, or whether or not you honestly, really love me and accept me. So I'll act out in some way, and then you have to forgive me or cast me out. You have to accept me or cast me out.
Right.
So I keep misbehaving in ways that give you an opportunity to reject me. And then that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Sure.
See, I knew you didn't love me.
Right.
I knew I could, but then the negative argument is I couldn't earn your love because I'm not worthy.
Right.
And so then we go through repeated cycles.
Right.
Different person, same crap.
And
same
so
conversation.
On the other side of that, if I'm the therapist and I'm hearing you say all those things about, how you're not able to earn the love of your significant other or your mother or some other person in your life, and then I'm saying to you, this is what I would normally say, is that, okay, why do you feel like you need to be so perfect? And now what I'm recognizing is that's probably the wrong language. What I should say is, why do you think that you feel so unworthy?
You might say that, and I might say to them, okay, so you're not. You're not ever going to be able to get your mother to love you.
Right.
So where does that leave you?
Right.
You're going to die. You're going to move on. You may be in a relationship with a mother who is the bad mom, and that's on her. That's not on you. If you can't get her there, if you can't perform in ways that will make her love her because she has a broken record, then can you move away from that despair and embrace peace somewhere else in another relationship? And so why do you keep finding yourself in relationships with the same people that damage you in the same way?
Right.
Is it you or is it them? Okay, what do you have control over? You or them? Can you change your behavior?
Well, and that's what I was just thinking about. Is we just recently did a rambling show on this idea of self-responsibility, and I don't know if it'll air before this one or not, but
ask our producer.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Where's the producer? But that's what it comes down to is being able to recognize what you have control over. You may never have control over whether your mother loves you or not.
Well, and how many times in therapy?
But you have control over whether or not you chase it.
Right. I agree. How many times in therapy have you spent time saying, why are we spending all of this conversation talking about why does somebody else behave a certain way or not behave a certain way? Let's talk about you.
Amen.
How are you going to behave when they behave this way?
Right.
Well, but why would they do that? Why would they say that? Why do they not let me? How come they won't? Well, they don't. So if they won't, and if they don't, where does that leave you? What are you going to do with that?
Well, and what I want to say,
they won't let me.
What I say to the client is, we have to assume that the way that they are acting is creating some primary reward for them, or else they would stop. So you're doing the same thing over and over again, expecting them to do something different.
Right.
But whatever you're doing is rewarding to them, and you're just going to keep getting the same result. If you don't change what you're doing, they're never going to change what they're doing.
So what is the phrase we always use? If you always do what you've always done, you will always get what you've always gotten.
Yeah.
And then the client looks at you and goes, huh?
Huh?
But you don't understand.
Right.
Yeah. They won't let me do it.
Well, because I was probably speaking dog at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Woof, woof. I mean, but it is. It's like the old Charlie Brown, TV show or cartoons where the teacher's talking. It's wah, 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 wah,
Yeah.
wah.
Yeah.
And so to me, what that means is that the client isn't in a place where they're ready to hear that. Because I've also had times where I've said that and it's been like an epiphany, and they say,
well, when they're ready to hear it,
yeah,
when they start to get healthy enough or strong enough that they can internalize that message, then you see that pretty dramatically.
Right.
Yeah. And then you stop coming.
And then the rest of the time, right. So the rest of the time, I feel like you're just planting a seed, right? You're trying to plant a seed and you're hoping that it'll germinate.
You're creating the safe holding environment. Mm-hmm. You find a place for them to be at peace enough to ask the questions, to flirt with the feelings, and not be destroyed. Mm-hmm. So then when they test that enough, it's like throwing a kid in the swimming pool. He learns to swim.
Right.
And that's not the recommended way to do it, because some of them don't. They drown.
I know, right.
But you are immersing them in a volatile situation, but you're holding them safely. And that's what the safe holding environment is supposed to be.
Did you know that's an instinct that extinguishes? So if you throw a baby in a pool, the baby splays out and actually will try and come to the surface of the water, but that actually terminates after about 9 months. So if you throw a 1-year-old in the water, the 1-year-old won't do that. So that's where that comes from, is that to teach somebody to swim, you throw them into the deep end of the pool. That's actually an instinct that is born into us, but it's, so some instincts maintain for our entire lives, like blinking. But then there are other instincts, one called brooding.
Blinking is a reflex.
Well, yes, okay.
Okay.
A reflex, instinct reflex. I'm using those terms synonymously.
Okay, thank you for that.
But then there's also a reflex called rooting, where if you poke an infant on the cheek, they will turn to suck on the nipple. Right? Well, you don't have that as an adult.
Right.
You can poke yourself in the cheek and you don't turn to suck on the nipple. So some instincts extinguish and some don't. The swim instinct actually extinguishes. So there comes a time where if you throw a child in a pool, they actually don't try and learn how to swim.
Right.
So that's you have to be careful.
Actually, I did know that. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm clarifying that for the audience that might not know that.
Yeah.
So there's actually a time when that
it's developmentally appropriate. And we used to say this, it's age-appropriate behavior, but it is now unacceptable.
Yeah.
It's time for you to modify and change.
Right.
And just like the rooting instinct, when you develop teeth, they start teaching you not
exactly.
to. Okay.
Yeah. Get rid of that.
Yeah.
So, I'm actually thinking about this, have been thinking about this idea of why do we use the concept of perfectionism in therapy? And what I'm wondering is, so if I say to you...
Because our clients bring it to us.
Well, but if I say to you, Brett, why do you have to be perfect? I think you feel good. If I say to you, Brett, why do you feel unworthy? I think you feel bad. And I think that's why we do it, is because we have become conditioned ourselves as therapists to say something to our clients that seems good and like, oh yes, I'm striving, I'm so great, I'm striving to be perfect. If I say, why are you feeling so unworthy? Oh my gosh, I'm broken.
Okay, so we've had this conversation before too. I get caught up in it around the whole false self-esteem movement. I try not to feed into false self-esteem, because if I give you empty praise, oh, you look good in that outfit, and you and I both know you don't, then I'm teaching you can't trust me. You can't trust me to be honest with you, because if I don't accurately reflect who I see in the room and how you feel about yourself, then you're not going to pay me any money, unless you're paying me to help you stay sick.
Right.
But if you're paying me to help you not be ill or disturbed or out of control, then I have to be genuine, and I have to give you genuine feedback, honest feedback. So how I experience you is that you are acceptable and worthy to me. That's a given. or it's not. And if it's not, I can't say it.
Right.
And I had a client that I couldn't work with because he was a pedophile and he had hurt children. And I told him I can't get past it. So I need you to, and it's my issue.
Yeah.
I need to tell you that I'm at fault here.
Right.
You are worth counseling.
Right.
But you have to go to somebody that can get past this issue.
That works with that.
And I'm not one of those people. So let me give you a referral.
And I don't even know that you have to get that in the weeds with it. I mean, you can just say...
with that client you do. I mean, anytime you have to refer on because you can't get over it.
But you can say, that's not my area of expertise, and I would prefer that you...
You can say it's not my expertise. You can also say I'm not comfortable with it. And it's my failure.
Sure.
For instance, there was a period in time when I wouldn't work with acting out alcoholics because I grew up in a brutal alcoholic family. And I would say to them, this is my problem. I can't work with you while you're drinking because I can't get past all the cues that I experience when you're drinking. So let me send you to somebody that can help you because I can't do it. And it's not your problem. You're worthy of it. But I can't go there with you. So let me help you find somebody that can.
So I think that I now have come to the conclusion where whenever I think, why do you need to be so perfect, that it's a euphemism for why do you feel unworthy?
Yeah.
Do you agree with that statement?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure I'm on track with that. And I think that this is going to change the way that I act in therapy. I think I'm going to change that language so that instead of saying, why do you feel like that you need to be perfect? I'm going to say to people, what is it about this that makes you feel unworthy?
So you will become a more worthy clinician rather than a perfect one.
Yeah.
But I was right.
Yeah.
But I got it right. They just didn't change. But I knew I was right. Yeah.
Well, I guess that, yeah.
Well, it's like the therapist that gets caught up in the labeling. Well, I knew he was a narcissist. He wasn't going to work with me.
Well, but I think that it's actually gets closer to the issue and gets closer to an answer.
I agree.
If I say, why do you need to feel so perfect? We're kind of dancing around the subject. If I say, why do you feel unworthy? If we can uncover where that's coming from, the motivation for that.
Or can I say, all right, let's have this discussion about your relationship with your mother. How does that make you feel? Instead of me labeling it at all. See if they can come up with a label.
Oh, yeah, no, that's good. Yeah. Yeah.
It appears to me that you are angry. It appears to me that you're sad. It appears to me that you're hurting. Can you tell me, am I getting this right? Am I understanding? And if I'm not, can you tell me how to understand?
So then can we extrapolate out from that statement that in therapy, perfectionism is really about unworthiness? Can we extrapolate that out and say that anybody who finds themselves being driven to have to do things perfectly is really struggling with a sense of feeling unworthy?
I would intellectually agree with that.
Yeah.
That may not be the dance that I do with the client.
Right, but I'm just saying for anybody who's in the audience, anytime that you're feeling like, I didn't do that perfectly, that really what you can do is try and turn that around mentally and say, why am I feeling unworthy?
Yeah.
Right. And that might then be beneficial for them. That might help them to find actually an answer. Because if you say, why am I feeling like I need to do this perfectly? You're not going to find an answer. If you say to yourself, why do I feel unworthy in this context? You might actually come to some kind of solution.
I think Albert Ellis invented a whole theory of psychotherapy around that.
Well, yeah. I think probably several people did. I mean, in their own way, I think every theorist would say that they tried to find a resolution.
But only one of them would be perfect.
Would there be one that was perfect?
Not in my definition.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we could find flaws in any of them.
Yeah.
So hopefully that has been good for people, and they will find some way to achieve greater levels of worthiness as a result of listening to that conversation.
Hopefully they will. And then they'll be worth coming back.
Absolutely.
It might even be worth subscribing.
But they should go to iTunes and subscribe and leave us a rating and a comment, and that would be fantastic.
And that would make them worthy.
Everybody who's listening to this conversation should absolutely do that. All right. So, as always, the music that appears in Psych with Mike is written and performed by Mr. Benjamin DeClue, and if it's Friday, it's Psych with Mike.